Hey guys, Dylan from Noble Records coming at you with another video. Get this question a lot, how do you protect your records, your sleeves, and all that stuff. And when I'm showing stuff, like I'll be showing this record and the sleeve, to show the label, you can see the sleeves on the back. And a lot of people, usually people that are kind of newer to it, are like, what's going on with that? And then also like people always have questions about sleeves. They always have questions about cleaning, organization, all that stuff. So I'm just going to kind of go through my routine and my sleeves and how I do it. Not to say that this is how you should do it. This is just how I do it, just so that'll answer any questions that you guys have. Before we get started, if you haven't already hit that subscribe button, hit it. Also hit the like button, shoot us a comment, follow us on Instagram at Noble Records. We have a record store in Matthews, North Carolina, where we're always buying big collections, recommending records and things like that. Stay connected with us there. Also, don't plug my merch very often, but we just got these sweet Noble Record shirts, kind of the Nirvana bleach aesthetic. So those are on our website now. I just put them up this morning. So if you want to grab one of those while you can, they are up on our website along with several other different designs and stuff. So I'm going to just take you from start to finish. I get a record, I bring it home, what I do with it. So first things first, I get a record. Let's say we're going to just just got some James Brown records. Showed them in one of my recent videos. And they're a little bit dirty, and usually when I bring one in, most of the time they need to be cleaned. 9 times out of 10 they need to be cleaned. Just because they got some dust or something on them, I usually clean just everything right when I get it. So I'll get it in, I'll grab the record, and then I'll take it over to my cleaning station. So this is the rundown from there. So this is my record cleaner. It's the VPI HW17. It's got this little shield. It's a nice one. This is my favorite record cleaner that I've ever had. I bought it with the collection of gear that I have now. My Macintosh stuff and clip shorts and all that stuff. This kind of came along with it. So what you do with this one, it's just kind of how it works. You screw this top on it. I think that you can buy some they cover the whole label, which I probably need to do, but this is what we got for now. This is a brush, and there's also a button right here that kind of shoots out your fluid. You feel the fluid right here, and then bring that brush over, get the motor going. All right, I already cleaned one side of this. So as you push this feed button, it feeds fluid. Don't want to get too much because it'll, get on the label. Do a few rotations like that. Switch it, do a few rotations like that. So what this is doing is just getting the solution in the grooves. There's a brush that is brushing the grooves, And that's what I like about this one is usually you have to manually brush. You have like a manual brush that you use with your hand. I've got a couple other cleaners at the shop that we use that way, but this one has this type of brush on it that has, all you gotta do is push a button to get the fluid on there. It's really nice, more precise that way. You move the brush off, then this is the vacuum. That vacuums it off. There you have your clean record. Also did want to mention the reason I got that record cleaner was because for me it was just a thing of convenience. I was buying a bunch of other gear and that was there, so I bought it. I've had a bunch of record cleaners. That's the one I really like the most just because it's easy, it's fast. I don't think that the vacuum record cleaners are the best possible way to do it. I think, it's a fact that ultrasonic cleaners are better. If you're kind of on a budget, Spin Clean is a really good option. I think they're, $70-ish, something like that last time I checked. They're pretty inexpensive. A record cleaner like that, like brand new, I think they're like $9.50. They don't make those anymore, but the similar VPIs I think are, around $1,000. So sometimes you can get them used. I usually have one used in my shop for sale because I get them with collections and stuff sometimes. But yeah, they're great cleaners. They do a really good job of getting the dust off, getting a lot of the grime off. But ultrasonic cleaners, what ultrasonic cleaner is that it basically soaks that record and it kind of rotates. But the grooves get soaked in solution to where it pulls a lot of the grime and stuff that's just accumulated on those grooves over the years, just pulls it off. And so that's the most thorough machine way to do it. You know, you've heard of the wood glue. I've never done that. Wouldn't recommend it. But so just want to make mention of that because I know people are going to be like, that's not the best way to do it. I'm not saying any of this way is the best way to do it. It's just the way I do it, you know. Right, so now that I have my clean record here, basically, another thing I want to point out is how to handle records. You know, I see a lot of people that have YouTube videos and stuff, and even people in the shop, that they'll pull a record out and check the condition or whatever, and what I call it is grabbing it like a ham sandwich. You know, they just grab it, they put their hands around and they just whip it out, and then they got their thumb on it and all this stuff. Don't do that. You do not want the grease from your fingers touching the grooves and all that stuff. So only touch the very tip outside, what you have to touch, and the label. So a lot of times you'll be holding a record like that. That's the proper way to do it. People that are record collectors and are kind of snobby about it, they'll cringe when they see that. I cringe when I see it, even though I used to do it. I know it's, you're like, how else am I supposed to pull it out? Just real carefully, you know, when you're pulling out of a sleeve, just kind of stick your hand in there to where you can feel that label, and you got the edge of your thumb touching the edge, and then you don't have to touch the grooves with your fingers. The grease and stuff from your fingers, you don't want that in your grooves. That completely ruins the whole purpose of cleaning a record, and then interacts with your needle and all that stuff. You just don't want that. So anyways, now that I have a clean record, they call these the MoFi sleeves. That's kind of like, you know, what they really are, rice paper sleeves. You can get them anywhere. Amazon, you can get them. You can get them on MoFi's website. You can get them at a million different websites, Square Deal, whatever. But put this record in the sleeve. That is my protective inner sleeves. I always use MoFi sleeves on everything I clean and put away, always. You know, that's what I like, and it makes it a lot easier. You know, if you got a paper sleeve, it's going in and out of the paper sleeve. That causes the paper scuffs. So, you know, when you're anal like me and pretty much every other record collector, you know, you don't want the paper scuffs. You want to keep that record as clean as possible so it'll sound as good as possible. So then from there, I have these sleeves, which are the 3mm poly outer sleeves. That's what I use mostly. I really like those sleeves. That's what I've always used. And then I'll just put the record in the back like that. Few reasons why I do that. First of all, you know, I don't like every time I pull out a record to listen to, I got to pull the record out, got to pull it out of the sleeve, then I got to pull the sleeve out of the record, and then I got to pull the record out of the sleeve. It's just a lot of unnecessary. It's unnecessary wear and tear, but also it's a lot. You know what I mean? So I'll leave it in the back like that. One reason is because it's easy. Anytime I want to listen to a record, boom, the record's right there. You can pull it out. Done. Another reason is because I make YouTube videos. I want to say, hey, this is James Brown, Shout and Shimmy on King Records, and there's his label. You know, so it's a double whammy for me. I like it both ways. I just cleaned this one. This one's a little bit harder to get. Just got that as well. So when I get them in, clean them. Don't forget not to touch the grooves with your hands. That's just kind of a beginner tip for you. And then I get them according to whatever sleeves that I like. I like the poly sleeves. There's more. Some people use these. These are, I think, a little bit cheaper. They're not rice paper sleeves. They're just plastic sleeves. But anything's better than paper sleeves. Paper sleeves suck. Basically, rule of thumb, whatever you like. People always ask me, like, what do you do in this situation? What do you do in that situation? Do what feels right. Do what feels best. One of the main questions I got, because I did this video a while back, and a lot of people were like, what do you do with double LPs? Which it's a case-by-case deal. So what they mean by that is, I'm trying to see if I've got one here. A lot of times you'll have a double LP that will, you got one sleeve and you got two records. Do you put both records in the back? Do you put one record in the back? Whatever. I've seen it a few different ways. So sometimes it depends on what feels right. So sometimes the jackets are really thick. Sometimes the vinyl is really thick. But in every case, I just do what feels right. So sometimes I'll put them both back there. Sometimes I'll put one in the back, and then if it's a gatefold, one in the middle of the gatefold. Sometimes I'll leave them inside and not even put them on the back. It just depends on what feels right. Some of them, it's just the sleeve is so thick it doesn't really feel right to put both on the back. You know what I mean? This is another one's conundrum I was trying to deal with last night. This is a Boris Pink. I just got this. It's got this like cardboard sleeve that comes in and out like this. And it's one of those things to where the more you open and close it, the more that's going to have damage to it. And I really don't want to wear that out too much. So, and it's also a 3 LP. So here's the vinyl on it. So I'm trying to figure out how to get it to where if I put all these in the back, it's just going to be so tight. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to figure out how to get in maybe another sleeve that I can have a double pocket or something to have those behind it or something, because I don't really want to, you know. So it's always a conundrum. What do you do? What do you do? And with each record, it's a case-by-case deal. Whatever feels right is what I do. So clean them, put them in the right sleeves, you know. And when I say the right sleeves, again, record collecting is deeply personal. So whatever you like, you do. You know, I've seen other people make these videos that I love them and I love the way that they do stuff and everything looks great, but it would drive me nuts if I did it the way they did it. Maybe you're watching this video and you think, if I did it that way, it would drive me nuts. Do whatever you want, but this is how I do it. So, and then to how I store records, I'll just kind of show you what I'm working with here. So this is just kind of the rock side. I always say, you know, if you're going to, however you want to organize your records, do it however it makes sense to you in your brain. So I've been to other people's houses and been like, where is your this or that? Like, how do you, in the way that they organize records, I'm like, whatever. But as long as you can find it in your head, I kind of organize mine by mood. So like however I feel. Like, so let's say I'm in a grunge mood. These are my grunge shelves. You know, I'll show you some grunge records. I got, you know, original Alice in Chains. That's the UK on colored wax. This is the US promo. You know, that's just some cool ones. But this is grunge. So grunge goes from here all the way to over here. I got two big cubes of mostly original grunge. I got 2 cubes of punk stuff. So if I'm in a punk mood, that's where I go. And then I got like a few cubes of metal stuff if I'm kind of in a metal mood. The main, I'll show you, like all these all the way down. This is just rock. So I used to try to organize regular rock and psych rock and all that stuff, but like psychedelic rock is so relative, you know. So any hard rock, psych rock, classic rock, all goes in there. 1 cube is like Grail stuff, just like all my Grails that I listen to on a really regular basis, and it's just 1 cube. It's like 50 or 60 records, you know. 2 cubes of punk, 2 cubes of grunge, a cube of metal. I got 2 cubes up here of like new arrival stuff, so like stuff that I just got that I'm listening to that I need to clean or do whatever. It's just stuff I haven't filed away yet. All these, this is probably 32 cubes right here of rock. So this is just classic rock, psych rock, anything that's like older rock. So not punk, not grunge. So basically that's the way that my mind works. Like psychedelic rock and hard rock doesn't really differentiate from that. And I kind of organize my shop the same way, honestly. But it's however it makes sense to me. So I used to have a psych rock section and a regular rock section, but a lot of those lines get blurred, so you don't really know where do you put something, so I'll just throw it all in one spot. On the other side of the room, I've got a Zamrock cube. I've got a library cube, so that's just library records. I got a Folkways cube, because I collect Folkways label. I've got 5 cubes of funk, a cube of Latin, Cuban type stuff, a reggae, that's in that same cube. And then I've got, let's see, got 4 cubes of jazz. One of those is just Tone Poets, the Blue Note Tone Poets. And then I've got 5 cubes of newer stuff, like anything that's like post 2000. So that's anything from, you know, Death Cab to Cutie, to, you know, Slift, to King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, to whatever. So that's the 5 cubes of that. And then I got 4 cubes of blues. So, and then on each side of my turntable, I have a 4x4 cube, and it's all audiophile stuff. So like, you know, Mo-Fi's, Analog Productions, you know, Impex, whatever. So I kind of organize it to my listening habits where I want to put stuff as, you know, if I come in and say, I kind of want to listen to some grunge, you know, I got all this to look at, and, you know, everything I try to keep organized. I can't tell you how many times I'm looking for a record and I can't find it, and, you know, I like to keep things as well as I can so I know where it is when I'm making a video and I'm trying to track down one of my records. So anyways, that is how I store them. Some other factors, if you're storing records, you want to make sure that they're not leaning too hard. Like you see mine, they're not leaning too far. I try to keep them to where they're not totally, tanked on one end. So that means, you don't want them to be, if they're in a box, you want that box to be totally full. Because if it's not, then one side or the other side is going to warp whatever record's on the end. So that's a huge thing. That's even if you have shelves. If your records are leaning too far, you could potentially warp that record on the other end. The shelves that I use right now, I want to make some custom ones pretty soon, but these are the ones that I've always used that have just been easiest. This is IKEA Calyx stands. So they used to be Expedits, I think is what they used to be called, and then they kind of switched up the design a little bit. But they're perfect for records. They're pretty sturdy, they're affordable, all that stuff. That's just what I've always had, and when I need to add another one, I add another one. At some point, I'll get some custom ones built just for this room because I'll probably die in this room. But the Calyx is what I use. Now, if you have Calyx, a lot of people have the Calyx shelves, especially have some of the bigger ones. It's really important. Let me show you. If you look closely, you have this one piece of wood running all across the bottom. And then you have these pieces of wood. If you ever built a Calyx, this is just a divider. So this wouldn't hold any weight, really. It's just supposed to be a divider. But I've seen, a lot of times they will be flipped on their side. They look the same either way. So they'd be flipped on their side. So this would be bearing the weight. And so if this is bearing all your weight, and this is so let's say you turn this Calyx on its side and this was on the ground, you want to make sure that the shelf that's bearing all the weight goes all the way across, and it's not one of these dividing shelves. Because I've seen people put them together, and they don't think it matters, and they just put them upside, or they put them sideways, kinda, and then all the weight goes on these dividers, and it ends up collapsing the whole shelf. So if you have an IKEA Calyx shelf, you really need to make sure that you've got it right, because these dividers are not meant to hold weight, and they will crumble. Hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Maybe got some pointers on how to store your records, sleeves, and all of that. Feel free to leave a comment, ask questions, whatever. I will put in the description of this video where I get my sleeves from. Primarily, this one shop that has them online. They usually have them in stock. They have good prices, good people. I know the guy that runs it. That's where I get mine from. So you don't have to buy yours there, but in this whole video, just wanted to show you how I do it because I get so many questions. But thank y'all again for watching. Leave me a comment, hit the subscribe button, follow us on Instagram. We'd love to see you over there. See you next time.